Welcome to Studio 1776. I'm your host, Daniel Leach. I'm joined tonight by Eric Hughes-Jones of Courtroom Watch, Tania McCash, who will be talking about her case this evening, and Connie, I'm not sure what your last name is, but we'll be finding out more of the details here shortly. I'm going to be putting myself on mute, and I'm going to be letting Eric and Tania and Connie take the show here. So welcome to Studio 1776, everybody. And
thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. It's Eric here, and from courtroomwatch.com, and you can find out more details about this case by going to our website. We don't do this to make money. We don't do this to be, try to get popular. We don't do this for any reason other than we see a real injustice being done to a woman named Tania McCash in California. It's in Santa Clara County. We did a broadcast previous to this, about 3 weeks ago with Daniel, and Connie is from Connecticut, is with us again tonight. We appreciate Connie joining us because she's well familiar with Tania's case. And this case is extremely important because why? Because Tania is a fighter, and she has enough guts, and she's got knowledge, too, to take on the corrupt court system that's unlawfully stolen her child, her daughter, that she's desperately trying to reunite with. And along the way, for what I can only characterize as retribution and retaliation, they lock her up, they press charges against her, they ramp up misdemeanors to a felony, they pull stuff out of thin air literally in these cases that are extremely egregious and have so many wrongdoings in them, where the government and the courts are just thoroughly abusing the people. We don't have a government that serves the people anymore, and we do not have three separate equal branches of government. Anybody who's in that dream world is just that dreaming. The power lies in the court. It should not. I'm not saying that's good. I'm saying it's wrong, and that's the way it is, and it should not be that way. Since every town, county, and in the state and the federal government have all incorporated, that means they function as private corporations now under corporate bylaws, and they sell stock in our government to shareholders and stakeholders. Remember what Obama said when he signed the act that basically confiscated millions of acres in Nevada and Utah. This was apparently attempted to be reversed by Trump, and I'm pretty sure that reversal went through. Now, I'm not a Trump fan either. Both political parties seem to be caving into these unlawful courts. But remember what Obama said. He said when he took the land, okay, this land belonged to the people of Nevada and the people of Utah. And he took it and he said, this was his quote, he said, a wide variety of stakeholders agree that this land should be confiscated for the preservation of antiquities, which is absurd. You don't need millions and millions of 90% of a state confiscated to protect, an Indian burial ground somewhere. Protect the Indian burial ground. Leave the rest of the land alone. So, but the reason I brought that up is because he said stakeholders. Stakeholders are shareholders. These are the owners of our government, the people who own the stock in our private incorporated government. So there's kind of the foundation of why we're in the mess we're in, because our town, county, states, and courts have incorporated. On top of that, they bond every court case that comes through the court. They take out a bond on the case. So it's like an insurance policy. And interest increases the longer they can drag these court cases on. Ever wonder why it took 3 years to get over a DWI, or a year to get a minor drug possession charge, or 5 years for a divorce case? It's because the court makes money. The longer they drag it on, it's called protracting. That means dragging it on and on and on and on and on, so the bond increases and they can cash in at the end of the case, and the whole court system makes a whole bunch of money bonding the case. If anybody doubts that, look up GSA, General Services Administration Forms 274 and 275, and you can go down the rabbit hole, and we'll do this another time, but it's important that we make these points and to let people know how we got in this mess, what the mess is, and now what do we do to get out of it? There's only one thing: activism. You can have the best paperwork in the world, and I suggest that you do. People can do it on their own. We beat 2 judges recently on violation of the public officers law here in New York just by drafting a handwritten motion for dismissal with prejudice, because the judges failed to file an oath and a bond with the county clerk when they got elected. And the New York Public Officers Law says they must do that. They were in violation of their own state law, yet they're dragging people into the court demanding that we obey the law. And furthermore, those judges were operating as private individuals because once you fail to file the oath and bond, your position is vacant. Section 30.1.H, New York State Public Officers Law. Okay, so we have, and we can explain now here by pointing out and accentuating all this criminal activity, the lack of obeying the law, the failure to obey the law on the part of our quote-unquote public servants. Okay, so this comes to Tania's case. Tania's a fighter. Tania stood up for herself. Tania resisted nonviolently. She filed top-quality paperwork, and the court didn't like that. So they've done things such as accusing her of a misdemeanor for showing up at her daughter's parade, ramping that misdemeanor charge up to a felony, just out of magic, I guess. No reason, no lawful standing to do it. Just, hey, we're going to call this a felony now so they can rake her over the coals. Recently, as you know from our last broadcast, Tania was locked up by Judge Stephen Manley in Santa Clara County because she refused to take medication. No medication was ordered by a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a healthcare professional. Even if they ordered it, it would be an unlawful demand to make Tania take a drug she does not want to take. They didn't even have that. The judge, on his own, Judge Manley, from the bench, that means up there wearing the black robe and looking down on Tania McCash, said, I think you need to be medicated, Ms. McCash. Tania says, oh, really? I don't think so. I'm just fine. There's no cause. You're not showing me why you think I should be medicated. And by the way, I thought you were a judge, not a doctor who was going to push psychotropic medications on people in his court. And if people want to look into it, there's a video online. Daniel, I think he put it up on our website, courtroomwatch.com. He'll pull it up again and add it to tonight's video. Judge Manley talking about how the hammer of prison is not always necessary. We get people on the drugs. And don't you go figure that Judge Manley's pension fund, the California Public Employees Retirement System, CalPERS, which is broke, is heavily invested in the pharmaceutical industry while he's pushing drugs from the bench. So you get that? He's literally lining his own pocket as a judge from his position on the bench by forcing people like Tania McCash to take a drug they don't want to take and the drugs they do not need. And, of course, the more drugs that get sold, the more the stock in the big pharmaceutical companies goes up and up and up. And Judge Manley's pension, which is invested in the drug companies, goes up and up and up and up and up. Okay, so you got that? It's real simple. Greed, money, avarice, profit. And they're destroying Tania's life, and we want to stop it. Okay, so the reason we're here tonight is going to be kind of a not really brief, but we're not going to do our whole 2 hours. We're just going to get right to the point. I laid it out, what the mess we're in, why we're in it, and what we can do now is just we need raw numbers, people to care and call. That's what we need. That's what we're at. That's why we're here. We're asking people to care and then call. This could be any one of you single mothers out there in a sticky divorce where the husband has deep pockets, and the court's always going to favor the husband with the deep pockets over the mother fighting for her children. It's an unfortunate situation that's going on in this country right now. So this is why we're standing up with Tania. She has court in front of Judge Manley, the drug pusher, this Friday. I'm pretty sure it's in the morning. So we're asking people, we're going to give some numbers out later for those of you who might not be able to get to our website, but if you can listen to this broadcast over the internet, you can most certainly go to courtroomwatch.com, and some of the numbers are up there. We're going to add the number of the district attorney, Jeffrey Rosen, because he's the actual prosecutor on the case. He could make this go away, but I'll tell you from my experience doing this, and we've had a really good success rate with getting people out, including Tania out of jail a few weeks ago, because Judge Manley ordered her to take a drug and Tania said no. Tania refused. She has every right to do so. And the judge locked her up in a psychiatric prison ward in a room with no windows for about 22 to 23 hours a day with one 5-minute phone call, and she didn't know when that would even be able to take place each day. You want to talk about a torture chamber. So this cannot happen. If we let this happen to Tania, we let it happen to every one of us. I mean, I can feel it breathing down my neck. All it takes is one wrong move in this society or someone who doesn't like you, and the court will be happy to initiate charges even where they are not lawfully entitled to do so. So with that, I want to welcome Tania McCash and Connie from Connecticut. Connie's worked in kind of peripherally in this area for a long time. She's not only been in the situation of watching the corruption in the pharmaceutical drug industry, she's also an activist who helps us out, and we appreciate Connie being with us tonight. And Daniel, thank you for getting this out to your people. Once again, we don't do this for any personal reward other than seeing someone who was innocent walk away free. It's better to let 1,000 guilty people go to jail, go free, than it is for one innocent person to go to jail. And remember that, folks. So this is why freedom is the most important thing we have. If we don't do something for it, we're going to lose it. What can you do for freedom today and this week? Send an email to Judge Manley and Prosecutor Jeffrey Rosen in Santa Clara County, California. We'll provide as much information as we can. You all might just have to do a little digging around and on your own and by yourself. We can use the help. So we encourage people to do their own investigation. Anybody listening to this that cares to be with Courtroom Watch is with Courtroom Watch, and call and say, I'm a courtroom observer with courtroomwatch.com. I submit information as I can. I care about Tania McCash. What's going on is unlawful. The judge is pushing drugs from the bench without any medical experience or any medical support around him to make it a lawful demand. So he's just coming up and telling people, I think you need to be medicated. Boy, you know, that leaves the door wide open to a whole lot of real big trouble in this country, our formerly free republic. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Connie and Tania. I hope I've got people interested and realizing that this case is extremely egregious. If we leave Tania alone and just forget about it and listen to this broadcast for entertainment and then go to sleep and don't do anything, you're paving the way for this to happen to you as well, the listener. So I'm just imploring people I'm going to be on the phone all week, and we want to make sure we call Jeffrey Rosen, the prosecutor in Santa Clara County, Judge Manley, the drug pusher from the bench, whose pension is increasing every time he forces drugs on one of the people in his court, and we don't like to leave out the real guy with the real power, the Archbishop of San Francisco, California. His name is Salvatore Corleone. I kid you not. So Mr. Corleone should get some phone calls. Be polite, be professional, but be firm that this is an egregious case and it's not going to go away. And they need to, what do we want? We want the charges immediately dropped against Tania. What is she being charged with? And Connie and Tania will fill in the blanks and correct me if I'm a little off. But if I'm not mistaken, this basically, when Tania showed up in court to argue the custody for her daughter, the husband got a restraining order put on Tania for, and look, any guy who needs a restraining order against his wife, it must be a real wussy. It's very rare that a woman is going to go take a guy out and do anything that's really, it happens, but it's very rare. So this husband putting the restraining order on Tania is just a wussy maneuver to try to make her look like a criminal. Of course, the judge complied, and guess what? After Tania left, after like 3 hours in court, she left, and after she was gone, they added the daughter to the restraining order. And Tania had no idea the daughter was added to the restraining order. She was not lawfully served or notified. So when Tania showed up at her daughter's parade, she was in violation of a restraining order that she had no idea was in place. And that brings us up, and it was a misdemeanor that they, quote-unquote, ramped up to a felony. I don't know what ramp up means. If you're charged with a misdemeanor, it should be a misdemeanor in the witch's court. You don't ramp it up to a felony unless you're one really corrupt California court. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Connie and Tania. Connie, do you want to start and fill in some blanks and condense Tania's situation? And then we'll hear from the lady herself, Tania McCash. Thanks for being with us, Connie. Go ahead.
Hi, Eric. Thank you. I think Tanya's situation, like you said, it's horrendous. You know, her daughter cried. I've heard several years ago when she was talking to her daughter on another phone and I was on one phone, her daughter cried for her mom, and she doodled in her notebook saying, I miss my mommy, and then she gets scolded in school for doodling in the side of her notebook saying she misses her mommy. This is truly an injustice. It is to take down the American family, the structure. This little girl needs her mom. And, you know, this pulls at my heartstrings because I cannot imagine if somebody did that when I was bringing up my daughter. And they are missing precious moments that they will never, ever be able to recoup. Holidays, birthdays, Tanya being able to take care of her daughter when she's sick. But anyways, yes, Judge Manley, when Tanya told me that she was going to jail, you know, you know, this cost like $500 in like phone time, and I ordered snacks. I sent her $100 money order so that she could buy phone time and talk to people, and they refused it. I have it here right in front of me. You know, they refused it. They knew they were going to let her out, but they let her out on conditions. And they sure set Tanya up because when she was in court that day 2 years ago, yes, she left the court, and then they tacked on her daughter and made it a 5-year restraining order. And the principal knew. I guess Tanya mentioned the ex-husband was on near school grounds when Tanya went there. She went there just to say good morning to her daughter and, you know, that she loved her. And then when the principal chased her off the property, she went to the police to complain. Now, an idiot would go to the police if there was a restraining order. Tanya is not an idiot. She is a very articulate, intelligent lady. And, you know, I have to hand it off to Tanya. She was a stay-at-home mom for almost 17, 18 years while, you know, but she is fighting a fierce fight, and she is trying every which way she can, and she's learning. She knows our Constitution better than me, even though she's from Canada. She's here on a green card. But, you know, yeah, and Judge Manley says on his YouTube video or his website, punishment has never helped. I have found punishment has never helped anyone. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know exactly, but that's the gist of it. Yet, he did not hesitate to put Tanya in jail, which obstructed her ability to respond to a case where he's a defendant and she's the plaintiff. And, yeah, so this was a whole setup, retaliation, retribution, you know, harassment. It cost her money, and to let her out on conditions. I'll let her explain. And when he put her in jail, he put her in jail with people who were dangerous and who had illnesses and diseases, possibly even contagious ones. So he took her out of a safe situation and put her in a dangerous situation, cost her money, took away her freedom. For what? No bail, no bond. Anyways, I'll let Tanya go from here, and she, you know, my hat's off. I love Tanya. She is fighting a fierce fight, but all citizens need to pay attention and fight for Tanya because they could be next, you know, and it happens so quickly and easily, and, you know, it's happening to too many. They're separating the parents from the children, and when they're separated from their mother, it's usually devastating, because, you know, the mother gave birth to them. So go ahead, Tanya.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Connie, so much. I really appreciate that. And I want to thank Daniel and Teresa as well. Anyways, where are we leaving off? Can you help me here, Eric, with this?
Yeah, well, it's you know, you got court on Friday, and you're up, if I'm not mistaken, you're up on they quote unquote, I love it when they do this, ramped it up to a felony. Apparently it was a misdemeanor violation of a restraining order originally, and, you know, the court being as corrupt as it is, they ramped it up to a felony. Am I correct on that, or is it still a misdemeanor, Tania?
No, so that's correct. So I'm just going to correct a couple of things because I know both of you speak to a lot of people, and sometimes, you know, and everybody has their own story, and just so that there's, you know, sometimes we forget, and it's fine. So, but basically, yeah. So what that does that we're really clear. This happened on October 31st, 2016. A few days before that, I believe it was on the 25th, I did have court. My ex-husband subpoenaed me to come to court. He did have a restraining order already in place. And so I had attempted to get rid of this order because the police are very aware of my complaints. They hear from me on a regular basis. I had to have 4 civil standbys, which I called myself, just to deal with the principal of the school in a 1-year period. So they were fully aware of the situation. But anyways, when I arrived to court that day, I did end up leaving the courtroom. And so when I left the courtroom, it seems like they continued with an ex parte hearing without me, and then orders were issued. So a few days later, when I arrived to school to see my daughter in the morning like I did every day, I had arrived there. I left. Nobody chased me away. It wasn't like that. I had left because it was a Halloween parade, and I immediately went to the police department to file a complaint against my principal because I was in the midst of putting a restraining order against her. And what happened was when I was there, the officer said that I violated an order that had come in. Originally, we had a peaceful contact order of 20 feet. And that's what it was. The judge went ahead and changed it to a 300-yard order, and he put 300 yards, and he put my daughter in there for 5 years. And so therefore,
let me just stop you right there and remind people that Tania didn't do anything. Like, she didn't threaten anybody or, you know, to go bonkers or, you know, drive her car into a crowd. She didn't do anything to warrant or to justify these tightening of the noose, so to speak, the ramping up of the extras. Now, at first it's peaceful contact, 30 feet, great. Then all of a sudden it's hundreds of feet, not at all. And there was no reason for this. You would think if there was some justification, we would certainly share it with our listeners. But these things were just kind of, what's the old word we used to use in school? Piling on. This is piling on, and it's abusive. Go ahead, Tania.
Yeah, that's correct. There wasn't any justification. That's true. I filed for divorce. I was the one who filed for divorce from my husband, and it's strange because he was the one at the end of it all who just seemed to get everything, including our children. So, but anyways, the point is that I had that's correct. We had a 20-foot peaceful contact order, which had been changed to 300 yards. Then he put Michaela in there. And so when I went to the police department to file a complaint, that's when the officer, Officer Tran, had me arrested. He said that, you know, you violated an order and therefore we're arresting you. So, I mean, okay.
No,
so, I mean, I don't know.
Let me stop you there because I think it's important to point that out. Do you hear? Now, I don't want this to go over people's heads. Tania didn't do anything. She didn't threaten anyone. She didn't hurt anyone. She didn't act like she was going to hurt anyone. She violated an order. Anybody want to join? Is everybody happy that you're all in the military out there? They look at every one of us, this is what I always say. You're in an ecclesiastic military tribunal. They look at all of us, and that means all of you listening to this, as military conscripts that must follow orders, not refrain from crime or do peaceable things or do good work or make sure you don't, you know, hurt anybody or do something that could hurt somebody, you know, something really reckless, okay? Nothing, just orders. Orders from the government, orders from the court, orders from the teachers, orders from the police chief, orders from the deputy, orders from the sheriff, orders from the trooper, orders from the court, orders from the district attorney, orders from the Department of Motor Vehicles, orders from the taxation bar, orders, orders, orders. Have you people seen how far down the toilet we've gone? That Tania simply, quote unquote, violated an order. So where's the boundary? Where's the limit? What are they not allowed to do? If we must follow any order, period, it's unlawful, it could be egregious. The judge is a drug pusher. He's practicing racketeering and conspiracy from the bench. That's RICO. He should be charged with it. He should be immediately disbarred. He should be immediately banned from ever being a judge again. If it needs to be impeached, he can be impeached. He can certainly be recalled in an election. He can be indicted by a common law grand jury of the people, because we know the district attorney, Mr. Rosen, sure is not going to indict Judge Manley for abusing his position from the bench, judicial misconduct, racketeering and conspiracy, abuse, harassment, menacing, forcible medical procedures. That's against the Nuremberg precedents. We're getting into international law here. He's forcing people to take drugs. The Nuremberg precedent said, and this was against the Nazis after World War II, you cannot force anybody to take anything. You cannot force a medical procedure on anybody. And taking a drug certainly is a medical procedure. By force, certainly is a medical procedure. It's a medication. How is it not a medical procedure? A vaccination, demanding, commanding, requiring, making, forcing at the point of a gun or will steal your children, a vaccination. That's a medical procedure. And we're just running around taking orders, orders, and orders. Boy, if this doesn't strike a nerve with people, I don't know what does. I hope people, this is really getting through how serious this is. She's violated an order, so I guess what? He's really not a judge. He's her colonel, or he's her lieutenant, or her captain, Captain Manley, Major Manley. They already got the troopers designated with military designation: private, first class, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major, colonel. Okay, so people, you can make a difference, and you can really take. Well, what's the word I want to use? You can make justice happen. You can do something righteous by not letting this happen to Tania. If they get 1,000 phone calls, she's going to walk up. There's no way. They always cave into the pressure, but there has to be a lot of it. And the system will always end up doing the right thing. We're not trying to free a murderer or a rapist here. We're trying to help a mother just stay out of jail. You want to talk about stacking the deck. And by the way, Tania, I'm not sure if Tania mentioned this, but she did when we talked earlier. When Judge Manley ordered Tania to take a drug that no medical professional had required her to take, it was just the judge making it up. He locked her up right at the time when she needed to file papers and defend herself for this upcoming court case she has. So he was literally depriving her of her what's called due process in the legal profession. That's due process is the procedural, the procedures that you're entitled to, that you're rightfully entitled to. So we don't have just these arbitrary, militarized, ecclesiastic tribunals telling people like Tania she has to take a drug, she has to stay away from her daughter, and she has to follow orders. Tania?
Yes, thank you, Eric. So that's correct. This was basically a contempt of court. That's what this was. So when that happened almost 2 years ago, so now all the laws that are being violated here, from that point, it ended up becoming a criminal case. They had it in a criminal court. A year later, in December of 2017, what I did was I filed pro se to remove the public defender, and then I filed, I actually moved the case into probate court, and then I filed a lawsuit against the police officers, the county, the city, so on and so forth. And it was 2 weeks later where all of a sudden they claimed that it was the public defender who spoke and told the judge in court that I need a psych evaluation. And that moved from a misdemeanor to a felony. And that felony charge that's where that lies under. So I mean, it's been complicated from that point. In February of 2018, the case was then moved to another county, and as of today, because I believe that you have a copy of the United States District Court case, it is signed by Chief Judge Phyllis Hamilton. This case is being heard in 2 counties. I mean, I don't even know how that's possible. I'm just a mom, okay? But that's what's going on here. They refuse to let it go. I cannot get over what is happening. But that's what's happening. And I was threatened. Actually, it was, I believe, the 20th of June. I had Judge Manley served, okay, because what I did was a counterclaim. Actually, we called it at that time a cross complaint, but I think it was referenced wrong. So it was basically a counterclaim, and where I went ahead and I countered, and we served him with a lawsuit. He wasn't available that day, but when I arrived to court on the I was told by Judge Yep that I better arrive on the 16th of August of this past year, and if I don't, he's going to issue a no-bail warrant for my arrest. It was a threat because I have never not gone to court, okay?
Now, so is that in the county of Santa Clara or the county of Alameda that it was moved over to?
It was moved, so it was moved. This was Judge Yep who spoke on the 16th of August in this court in Santa Clara County, but the case was moved to Alameda County on the 13th of February with a notice of removal, and then we filed a notice of removal. I mean, it's all been filed properly, but yes,
let me ask you this. So we're trying to simplify it for our listeners because even I can get confused on this. Here's what I want to ask you: is the county that lost the jurisdiction and the county that your case was moved from is the one that's requiring you to come in to answer this felony charge on Friday. Is that correct?
The felony charge is in Santa Clara County, so I moved the case from Santa Clara County to Alameda County. Am I explaining that properly? I'm not sure if I am.
So I got it. The answer is yes. The county, Santa Clara County, the county that lost its jurisdiction because you're suing the judge. And you have every right. Let me remind people, the system likes to make a bogus claim that you can't sue a judge while you're up in front of the case in front of them. Well, why not? There's no. What is it that we have to be held to the letter of the law? But they're exempt from it because if a judge is doing something unlawful, he should be able to be sued by anyone, including a defendant, to remedy a situation that's wrong. Now, if it's just a frivolous, if it's a frivolous complaint, they can consider that. But I mean, this one's crystal clear. Tania's under retribution and retaliation from Santa Clara County. They don't want to lose jurisdiction on this case. There's a whole bunch of money in it for them if they can drag it on, and they don't want to let it go over to Alameda County as per the federal court order in your lawsuit. Correct, Tania?
Well, the federal court order, that's correct, because what happened was when I moved the case to Alameda County, and it's continuing to be heard in Santa Clara County. I mean, it's just one after another, having me come in.
I know. And I would really like to see some heat put on, but I mean, we don't want to overwhelm our listeners. I think if we concentrate on the Archbishop, the prosecutor's office, and the judge, I mean, the judge is almost, I don't want to say a waste of time, but they need to feel the heat of people calling, even though they're kind of usually very, I shouldn't say that. A lot of judges have ended up doing the right thing because of the public pressure.
Yeah.
This one I'm not so sure.
That's true, but the thing is a judge can be sued, okay? When he steps out of his, let's say, business capacity, okay, and he steps into his...
when he steps out of his jurisdiction, when he loses his jurisdiction because he violates the oath that he took. Don't forget, when these judges are sworn in, when they get elected, they raise their hand and hopefully still put the other one on the Bible so there's some moral anchor, and they say, I swear to uphold the Constitution. And then under the Constitution, there has to be a direct victim to a crime or there is no crime. Who was injured by Tania showing up at her daughter's parade and smiling and saying, yay, go parade? I mean, it's disgusting. We've put us all literally into their military. So I just wanted to, clarify that. Yeah, Tanya, is there anything you want to add at this point, Connie, or are you chomping at the bit to put anything in there?
I'd like to add that taxpayers should be outraged that their court system has let this go on for 2 years. Tania has court documents that indicated she was not served or aware of the protective order. So, you know, to commit a crime, there has to be, she didn't knowingly or have any intent on committing a crime. And so this is the ludicrous thing about all this stuff. They just want every excuse to throw people in jail, put people on drugs, make people pay for money make her pee in a cup for a drug test. It was not a drug charge. These people, you know, if anybody needs medication, I would say it's the court system because this makes no sense. But taxpayers should be outraged that this has gone on for 2 years and they have placed restrictions. So, you know, on her seeing her daughter, this is a crime. This is a crime against Tania and Michaela. And,
it is.
You know, and most normal parents put aside their differences for the sake and their love of the children. So
right.
They see and spend time with both parents. This speaks volumes for the ex-husband and his cutthroat attorney who are doing everything they can to keep Tania from her daughter. Tania's not dangerous or anything. You know, she's very intelligent and she's fighting a good fight, but taxpayers should be outraged.
Absolutely. Yeah, excellent point. I just wanted to reiterate on something that you said. You know, this is our money that's paying for this, people. I mean, so none of us are immune from this. They force your tax dollars out of you every time you purchase something. What do you think pays for all these county courts that are really state Supreme Courts? And it's just, when you use the word restriction, I would even ramp that up to a more severe word. They've completely eliminated and banished Tania from any contact with her daughter. It's been like eliminated. It's really cruel what they're doing here. And you're right, the attorney and the husband are doing cutthroat, vengeful things. Some people just go that route, and I hate to see that happen. It happens all too often.
Well, you know, Eric, I just wanted to add that that's true. My ex-husband's attorney, his name is David Luca, and they own the Luca Law Firm. If it's okay if I say that publicly, it's not a secret because my documents are public record. But David's father, whose name is Dennis, is also a criminal defense attorney, and he used to be the San Jose PD internal affairs sergeant. So you see, these people are all connected. It's all politics, you know. So, I mean, it's ridiculous, really, what's going on. Okay.
I've got a word for it, just to lighten up the atmosphere a little. Because I've watched this happen. Maggie Brooks, the county executive, was married to the head of the water authority in Monroe County, and Kathleen Hochul, the congresswoman, is married to the prosecuting attorney federal prosecutor out of Buffalo, and Judge Dinalpo is married to Cheryl Dinalpo, who was the county clerk, and now she's going to be the county executive. Inbred government hillbillies.
Yeah. That's what it is, you know. And for as much as I complain, which I do complain nonstop, you know, continuously, not just in this case by filing papers and that. I've been complaining for a long time because, you know, I just can't believe what is going on. You know, it's they've taken this really far. Also, you did make a point. You said before that these cases drag on, which is really a Sixth Amendment violation. Isn't it the Sixth Amendment with states that, you know, what is it again? It's a quick...
and I got this from a woman who worked for the state of Virginia Department of Health and Human Services. She was a fairly high up person, and you know, one of the administrators at one of the largest state agencies in the state of Virginia. And she said she could hear cheering in the offices next door to her when the quote-unquote adoption incentives program went through under Clinton, Bill, because it was going to open the floodgates for the government being able to seize children for bogus purposes and make a whole bunch of money doing it. And she said the insider's term that they use is called protracting. It means dragging it on, lengthening it forever. The more years, the better. And if you go to General Services Administration forms, I think it's 273, 74, and 75, you'll see what's called a bid bond, a performance bond, and a payment bond. And every court case that goes through the courts, whether it's a traffic ticket or a doggy violation or whether it's all the way up to the capital offenses, but every case is bonded. And they make
That's every case. A fortune. Yeah. That's true. Fortune. Well, this is the thing. What's the Sixth Amendment rights?
Imagine
so what
how
they're
many.
Doing.
Oh, and by the way, what they do is they package them into fiduciary instruments called real estate investment trust, REIT. And you can go online, people, and do your own research. Just type in bonded court cases, surety.org. There's one, Freedom School has a good article on it. A prisoner at sentencing is required to sign papers, and this bonds his case. So they make money at the sentencing. They make money at the release. They make money during the trial and all the motions. Everything is turned into a fiduciary instrument and sold on the open market to anybody who wants to buy it. Germany, London, Rome, the Japanese, the Chinese, any dictator, the Rothschilds. Name your Soros, Bush, Obama, Clinton, name your poison. They're all buying.
They're buying these. It's true. Because, and this is the thing, they're violating our Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial. That's what it is. Because this has been going on for almost 2 years, right? It's ridiculous. So that the case will make money. Just recently, and I don't know if I told you. Yeah?
I just want to add something to that because I'll forget, and I'm not taking notes right now.
Okay.
But I wanted to add, the Sixth Amendment, it also not only does it say the right to a speedy trial, but it also says by a jury of your peers. Now that means that you should have a jury of single mothers who have been jerked around by the California courts, and what do you think they're going to find, guilty or not guilty? They're going to let you walk free. So I would be insisting on a jury of your peers. A bunch of strange males aren't your peers. A bunch of people who grew up in another country and don't recognize our culture, they're not really your peers either. Look, you've been in this country for 17 years. Connie says you've been a single stay-at-home mom.
No, 20 years. 20 years. I've been here 20 years.
Okay, even more. Okay, so even makes my argument stronger. We're way past the green card if you get married and stay with the guy for 20 years and raise children. Okay, there's no green card. You're in. You're American now. You have Canadian heritage and I believe Slavic heritage. But it's amazing that it took. See, the Europeans, the people who are, because I know your father is pretty much from the old country, so you're like almost just like first generation. You don't have to go far back to have the European ethic and the European ideal. Europeans are much more distrustful of their governments. They've been through multiple world wars. They've been wiped out in many areas. Entire families wiped out. There was no Saving Private Ryan where they go, Saving Ryan's privates, where they go gallivanting off and try to rescue the four sons so the family line continues. What a bunch of baloney. The entire family's wiped out. The entire village is wiped out. Culture is almost wiped out. And so it's scary. And so the Europeans usually have more fight in them than the Americans do. Americans are lazy. We become comfortable with this idea, this absurd notion that we're somehow free. We have freedom. We're the best country in the world. America, right or wrong? There's more to that saying. I found it recently. It's just saying, and I forget the author. America, right or wrong? When right to be kept right, when wrong to be made right. Nobody ever adds that, and that's the original quote. Is the America right or wrong? America right or wrong? Cook hot dogs on the 4th of July and you're free. Baloney. Look what's happening to Tania. Look what's happening. I mean, I don't even want to go off on a tangent, talk about the military conquest and the killing of people overseas and the lack of any resistance from either political party or any of our churches, the 501c3 incorporated nightmares that they've become. So without going off too far, it's not going really well right now for freedom. Now, the government's going to hope it can box enough people into either a comfort zone where they think they're free and they have a lot of TV and they can nice and fat, or ultimate chaos where you're just bogged down. You got to take the kids on Monday through Friday. You get half a day off on Saturday because you got to clean and go buy groceries. And then Sunday you may try to get them to a church, and the church stinks because it's all feel-good incorporated church, and it's not really talking about the Word. And there is so much to the Word, and we'll get into that another time, Daniel. But so yeah, it's not going real well in this formerly free republic. So I don't want to hear from anybody that we're free. I respect all these. I see Europeans and people from other places fighting the evil and the injustice with a lot more strength and forcefulness than a lot of Americans do. So hopefully maybe can make this a rallying call to people to do something to get involved. It's easy to send an email to Judge Manley and the Archbishop. Dear sir, I understand you're a godly man with great power in San Francisco. I respectfully require that you intervene in the matter of Tania McCash and make this go away. Be real frank with them. You know, you don't have to insult his intelligence. Make it fancy. Write him a poem. Write him something impressive. He may put it on his wall. It'll leave an impression, and it'll really help Tania. So there's something you can do. Send an email, send a letter. Hard letters by the post office are big time, because anybody who's going to take time to write a real letter really cares. And so I encourage people to do that. Of course, the phone calls always help. But don't just call once. Keep calling until you get either a call back from somebody or you get some type of satisfaction that the right thing is going to be done. And we got about 5 minutes left in the broadcast. I'm going to turn it back to Tania and Connie to wrap up any gaps they want to fill in, just comments they want to make. Your commentary and has been excellent tonight. And for the pressure that you're going through, I don't know how you're as composed as you are. I mean, I'd be melting down. Court on Friday for a felony charge. Did you hear that, people? Tanya's got to go to court in front of Judge Manley, the guy who she sued, the guy who already locked her up because she wouldn't follow his orders to take a pill, a drug, locked her in a psychiatric prison. You all out there got her out. It wasn't me. It was all of us. And Tania got out within, I think, I think she was out within 48 hours of our broadcast. And we didn't use the RBN network. I didn't even do a classic. We just did this platform with Daniel, his people as single parents. And there was enough pressure that came out to free Tania from prison before. Let's free her from the court entirely. You're basically going to be freeing her from prison now. If she gets convicted of a felony on Friday, then she may have to go back and we have to do this all over again. Let's nip it in the bud right now. And so people do this week. We got Monday to Thursday to start calling and flooding the judge, the Archbishop, the prosecutor, Jeffrey Rosen, and I'm going to add the Chief Administrative Judge for the state of California. I don't know who it is. Actually, I've got it probably written down somewhere, but I can't score it right now. So listen, people, if you care enough about helping Tania, do your own little investigation. Type in Chief Administrative Judge for the state of California. And whoever that is should be getting phone calls and emails complaining about Judge Manley. Judge Manley is not going to necessarily be convinced to do the right thing. He may. So I'd call him as well. But we have to assume that, this guy's playing hardball. He's ramping a misdemeanor up to a felony. He's abusing a woman who never hurt anyone. He's depriving her of her lawful relationship with her daughter. And that's just a thumbnail sketch of what they're doing. All the imprisonment stuff, all the forced medication, more forced medical procedure stuff. This case is egregious, big time. So we could really help stop this from happening again to anybody else in the country. If we make a big stink and really be nice about it and professional, but be firm and require that these charges get dropped. The District Attorney, Jeffrey Rosen of Santa Clara County, has to drop these charges now. He has to stop being a greedy power control freak and play ball with justice. He took an oath to uphold the Constitution. Why is he violating it? Judge Manley took an oath to uphold the Constitution. He's violating it every time he drags Tania into the court. Really violating it when he puts her in jail. So this one's big time, folks. Please do it for Tania or do it for me. Do it for yourself and your children. Because if we let our children be brought up into this nightmare, I don't think they're going to be too happy with our status as righteous individuals and good parents. All right? So courtroomwatch.com is going to have some updated information. Do your own investigation. Find out who the Chief Administrative Judge of the state of California is. complain about Judge Manley's behavior, require that the charges against Tania be dismissed, and also the federal court that heard Tania's lawsuit against Judge Manley. And I love that. Tania's doing what we all want to do, sue the judge in federal court. You can do that. They're not immune. He stepped outside his oath. He's out of jurisdiction. He's no longer, he doesn't enjoy the protection of any type of immunity when he steps outside and violates the oath that he took on when he was elected. I swear to faithfully uphold the Constitution. The president's not the only one who takes that oath. All these judges and sheriffs are taking it as well. The troopers take it. All public servants are supposed to take the oath. And they say, I will swear to uphold the Constitution, so help me God. And then they go right out the next day and start violating it. So anyway, people, please help Tania with some kind of phone call, email, multiple combination of both. Do your own research. Find out who the chief administrative judge of the federal court in that district or in that circuit. Find out who that is and say, hey, are you aware that Santa Clara County Judge Manley is in violation of a federal court order, and thus he is in contempt of court for attempting to retain jurisdiction in a case that's already been transferred to the next door county, Alameda County. Pretty simple. Let's make him answer that. He's in contempt of court. You have a state judge in violation of a federal court order, period. The state judge is Judge Stephen Manley. The federal court judge, I don't know if Tania can whip it off the top of her head, I'll be amazed. But if we could do your own investigation, people, all right? Do something. All you got to do is go online and type in Chief Administrative Judge for federal circuit number. What is that, the 9th Circuit? Are you in the 9th or the 11th? Something like that. Find out, people. Santa Clara, California sits in a certain federal district. I'm pretty sure it's either the 9th or the 11th. But anyway, there's little projects for you people to do. You want to do something interesting with your children who are old enough to handle this, teenagers, young teenagers, teach them civics, which under the New York State Constitution is required, and none of the schools do it, but they still want to collect our taxes to pay for the schools. So teach your children civics. Here's how we make justice happen. Here's how we make the courts right. Here's how we take this country back. Trump's not going to ride in on any white horse and do it. That's what they want to make you think. So everybody sits home and watches King Arthur save the day like it was a movie. Okay? So turn off the TV and get active and go to courtroomwatch.com. We'll get as much information up there as we can. Daniel's doing a great job. We got just a minute or two left. So I'm going to thank Connie in Connecticut for being with us tonight. What a great presentation again. Thank you, Connie, for donating your time. Tania, I'm encouraging everybody now who cares about what's happening to you and knowing that it's going to come for them someday to please activate this week and respectfully require, those are the words I like to use, I'm respectfully requiring you, Mr. Archbishop, to intervene in this matter. I'm respectfully requiring you, I'm encouraging you, you could say that, to do the right thing, Mr. Jeffrey Rosen, Santa Clara County DA, and do the right thing and drop this absurd case against Tania McCash. Just drop it. Let her go. She wants to do battle in court. That's what Tania's doing, the right thing. Tania's not doing terroristic acts. The government is. Tania's just filing paperwork. She's not going to the bullet box. She's going to the pen and paper. She's doing the right thing. She's doing the nonviolent. She's doing like Gandhi did. Gandhi was a lawyer. He filed papers and he knew what the law was and he knew what natural rights are. Always fall back on your creator because that's where your rights come from. They don't come from the government. Government can only take stuff. It can't give you anything. You already have freedom. You already have rights. They're called natural rights. Civil rights are what the government lets you have. Natural rights are what you got just by being born. So with that, thank you, Connie and Tania. Anybody's got a closing word or two, say goodnight. And then, Daniel, you want to wrap us up?
Eric, can I say one thing?
Sure, please.
Because of what Judge Manley and the California court system and the evil stepfather and his corrupted lawyers and stuff and the judges, Tania doesn't know her daughter's grade. She doesn't know if she's sick or if she's healthy. She doesn't know if she's being cared for properly. this is truly a crime. A crime more so than what
people imagine not being able to find out, how your daughter is doing, because the courts have come down on you so hard.
Psychologically, physically, mentally, school, and they are denying the mother and daughter of what to do with each other and share with each other. This is truly a crime. And lastly, I want to say is that, really it says we the people versus Tania McCash. We the people need to call the district attorney and say, no, I do not support this action against Tania McCash because she was never served. She never knew she committed a crime. She never had an intent to commit a crime. Tania is willing to do a signed notarized affidavit indicating she didn't know and didn't intend to commit a crime.
Excellent point. Yeah, the crime has to have a measure and a matter of intent. And if there's they're letting police off from shooting people dead, innocent people that didn't do anything, that weren't armed. They're letting police off on manslaughter or murder charges because they didn't intend to kill him. They were just scared. Or I just thought he might have something in his pocket. Or, I was trained to do that. Or, the government could do no wrong and you work for us. The people work for us. We're not public servants anymore. Whatever absurd idea they come up with, if there's no intent, there's no crime. If there's no victim, there's no crime. That's even more important. And in this case, there's certainly no victim. The victim is Tania. So people, make this call, please, for us and for Tania. And I want to have good news. I want these charges to be dropped, or the judge to just let her walk. And I'd stop with all these bizarre restrictions, like you can't leave the county, and you can't go here, and you can't go there. He's playing a disgusting game with us. So we need to be firm on this and make it stop. The Archbishop is where the real power is, people. All right? Trust me, I've done this long enough. You put the heat on the Archbishop, Salvatore Cordileone of San Francisco. He's the Archbishop of San Francisco, and he needs to intervene on this matter and do godly work. If he's a godly man, let's see him do some godly work. If the judges and the legal department of the county of Santa Clara, who really manages behind the scenes, you get a call from the legal department at the Archbishop's Diocese, that'll stir the pot enough to start making things happen, period. But we need you all out there to step in and do something and have enough guts to help out Tania, because if we don't help her, she's screwed on Friday. They're going to nail her to the wall. I know it. They've already done it. And so I'm certainly going to do everything I can not to let it happen. And everybody out there, please join in and do the same. So thanks a lot, everybody. Daniel, thank you for doing this broadcast once again. Good night to all our friends at Single Parents, helpingsingleparents.org. Don't forget to go to courtroomwatch.com for the info and the updates, numbers to call. Do your own investigation and your own research. If you can't find it, keep trying. And don't give up. And I'd also like to remind people to go to our friends at Pruitt's Tree Resin. They help sponsor what we do, and they recently sent me a bunch of their products for an injury I had with a spider bite that got way, way out of hand. Bad. And I've got to say that Pruitt's Tree Resin really saved the day. And so I encourage people to check out their products. You can call or go online to pruittstreeresin.com, and I highly recommend their stuff. It was incredible. It worked literally fantastic on an injury that I had recently. So pruittstreeresin.com, I want to thank them for everything they do. And they do so much for the freedom movement, y'all have no idea. So they've helped get people out of prison, and so I want to thank Pruitt's Tree Resin for their good product and their great activism. Okay, people, so support the people who support us, and that keeps everything going. Hey, it could be any one of you out there who have an issue like this someday, but you know what? You'll get a veil of protection over yourself if you step up to the plate and do the right thing for somebody else, somebody nice, somebody who's being abused, just getting their daughter back, like Ms. Tania McCash. So it's Tania McCash in Santa Clara County, California court on Friday morning in front of Judge Stephen Manley. And we want pressure to put on him and his higher-up, meaning the Chief Administrative Judge for the state of California and the Archbishop of San Francisco. Also, the prosecutor, Jeffrey Rosen, needs a couple of phone calls this week from everybody. Don't give up and just call once, all right? Keep calling every day. We're only asking. Court is Friday. You know, it's not something you got to do for the next 2 months. 4 days. We need a heavy public pressure. So I'm just really begging you all out there. I'm asking for Tania. I'm not asking for myself. I get nothing out of this other than satisfaction that I'm seeing an innocent person go free. Period. Because I'd want somebody out there doing it for me if I was locked up. My God. All right, so people feel Tania's pain, all right? I know it's not exactly the most comfortable situation for you. But, hey, this is the situation that we're in, and it's pretty much the fault of everybody. But if we all do something now, hey, we're off the hook. Okay, so good night, everybody. Studio1776.org, thanks you. Courtroomwatch.com, thanks you. Tania, thanks you. And
I thank you so much. Thanks, Eric. Thank you, Sergeant.
Anytime, Tania. Just let us know what we can do. And thanks to all you single parents out there who I know you're going to get active this week. Thanks again. Thank you, Daniel.
You're welcome. And everybody, thanks for joining us tonight here on Studio1776.org. Please go to Studio1776.org. You'll find out more about this court case, and go to courtroomwatch.com or .org to help support Tania in her cause. We'll be also posting this on Single Parents Helping Single Parents, or SPHSP.org, which stands for Single Parents Helping Single Parents. Again, thank everybody for being on the show this evening, and we will talk to you soon. God bless. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.